Hello, this is Dr. Shubha from Vasavi College of Education, Pondicherry. This is about creating an inclusive school. We are dealing with Unit-2, Part-1. So under Unit-3, we are going to learn about different learners in inclusive education, types of learning disability, physical and visual impaired. Types of learning disability. Individuals with Disabilities Act defines a specific learning disability is a disorder in one or more of the basic psychological processes involved in understanding or in using language, spoken or written language, that may manifest itself in an imperfect ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or do mathematical calculations, including conditions such as perceptual disabilities, brain injury, minimal brain dysfunction, dyslexia, and developmental aphasia. That is, learning disability means they may not be able to speak well or write well or read well or perceive. Perceive means understand, observe and understand anything with mathematical calculations. So they will be suffering from any brain dysfunction. Persons with disabilities are a heterogeneous group. Heterogeneous means each one will be different, encompassing a variety of disabilities and varying degrees of disability in each. Disabilities can be broken down into a number of broad subcategories, that is physical impairments affecting movement such as muscular dystrophy, post-polio syndrome, that is walking will be a problem, and cerebral palsy with a muscle problem, and sensory impairments, visual or hearing impairments, cognitive impairment, autism or Down syndrome, and psychiatric conditions such as depression and schizophrenia. So physical will be either limbs are impaired. Sensory means visual, hearing, and looking also, seeing. Cognitive is mentally impaired, autism, having autism or Down syndrome. Psychiatric conditions and depression and schizophrenia. Schizophrenia and affective psychosis. These two are psychological conditions where they think they are somebody else and they will imagine things. So this is psychological disorder. There often appears a gap between the individual's potential and the actual achievement. This is why learning disabilities are referred to as hidden disability. The person looks perfectly normal and seems to be a very bright and intelligent person, yet may be unable to demonstrate the skill level expected from someone of a similar age. A learning disability cannot be cured or fixed. It's a lifelong challenge. However, with appropriate support and intervention by the teachers and elders, people with learning disabilities can achieve success in school, at work, in relationships, and also in the community. In federal law, under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the term is specific learning disability. One of the 13 categories of disability under that is listed. Now let us see what is physical disability. Physical impairment, by virtue of its definition, may be understood as a certain type of dysfunction of disturbances in the body resulting into its malfunctioning and thereby making one physically disabled or handicapped on one account or the other. So this is any condition that permanently prevents normal body movement. The term physical disability is broad and covers a range of disabilities and health issues, including both congenital, that is by birth, and acquired disabilities, that is after an accident you lost a limb, lost a right hand or left hand or a finger, are unable to walk. Students with congenital conditions, that is by birth, either are born with physical disabilities or develop them soon after their birth, like polio attack. Acquired disabilities are those developed through injury or any disease also while the child is developing normally. So physical disability or physical impairment is you are unable to use your limbs to the fullest potential. That is physical impairment. Now this represents a condition that interferes with his ability to participate in many activities such as routine school, home and community activities. Many causes and conditions can impair mobility and movement. The inability to use legs, arms or the body trunk effectively because of paralysis, stiffness, pain or any other impairment is common. It may be due to birth defect, disease, age or accidents. This may change from day to day also, and this may also contribute to other disabilities such as impaired speech, memory loss and hearing loss. So people with mobility and movement impairments may find it difficult to participate when facing social and physical barriers. Visually impaired. Visually impaired children who have such marked visual difficulties that even with the best medical and optical care they cannot see well enough to profit by the educational facilities that provided for children with normal vision. This means weakness or defect in the power of seeing to the extent that it becomes a hurdle in the way of an individual or a child in the act of reacting or studying or carrying out various duties of the daily routine which require the help of vision or eyesight. These children may be of various types. So totally blind, partially blind or partial sighted or color blind. Color blind means colors they cannot see. In the category of totally blind are those children who are not able to see anything, and partially sighted they require special arrangements for vision. So color blind, they cannot differentiate various colors. Now what are the causes of visual impairment? The transfer of genes and chromosomes from the parents at the time of conception, the carelessness by pregnant mothers in their diets and malnutrition, strong drugs, or maybe any chronic disease, any serious accidents or any incidents, a stressful psychostates, unhealthy living, or diseases of the eye and infection, the deficiency of vitamins and other nutrition, the evil effects of fatal diseases like cancer, tumors, growth of tumors, skin disease, typhoid, malaria, etc. So what can be the symptoms? Crossed eyes, watery eyes. Crossed eyes means they'll be looking upwards. Watery eyes, red simmed, swollen eyelids, blurred or double vision, rubbing their eyes excessively, blinking frequently, squinting eyelids together, dizziness, covering of eye, tilting the head forward, holding the objects and books close to the eyes, asking for help or bumping into people, skipping words or lines, poor eye-hand coordination, watching TV from a very close distance, watching the blackboard from a very close distance, difficulty in reading small print. So, as teachers, we should know what are the symptoms. Only then we can identify the children who can have such visual impairment. Now, what the school and teachers can do? First, they need to be identified, and they should be seated in front rows so that they can read the books and write on the blackboard without any difficulty. Books with bold letters should be provided. Radio and TV broadcast can be arranged. efforts to be made to procure cassettes. Now there are no cassettes or CDs or maybe USB. State institutes of education or state councils of educational research and training or district institutes of education and training, diet centers or institutes of educational technology may be approached for this purpose, because under various policy they are working on inclusive education, that is including all the impaired children in regular mainstream schools. Education for the visually impaired. A number of models have been tried to educate the visually impaired. For partially sighted children, a special class was tried in the normal school, where the teacher could handle all the partially sighted children. Usually for blind children, going to school implies admission to a residential school for the blind. Braille classes like Louis Braille. Actually, Louis Braille was also partially blind, but he was well versed with this Morse code. Morse code usually they use in war scenario. They use this da, did, da, like symbolic language between them. Morse code usually in olden days it was there. Now it's not there. Now in the computer you have binary code. No, in the same way you have Morse code for telegram and all that. So using that, he modified that Morse code and he invented Braille. So usually for blind children, Braille classes should be there. Of late, some attempts have been made to integrate them with the normal children by admitting them to normal schools. But coverage of blind population of the students is not significant because they are not coming. Maybe we are not finding them and admitting them in normal school, maybe. For the physically impaired, the school, they have to work on giving them ramps and other wheelchairs and other facilities and assistants, like some people can assist them to classes and somebody can write for them like scribes. But for visually impaired, there are a lot of assistive technology have come. So they have trouble seeing or unable to see at all. But these days you have books on tape and eyeglasses are there. Like instead of this white can, now there is an Xbox sort of a thing. When you wear it on your eyes, you can see. So eyeglasses are there, electronic magnifiers are there, brailled materials, large print books. So these are all there. So many impaired assistive technology. So the world as a whole and India with all its policies, they are trying to help. And as teachers, we should know whether any child is behaving in a different way, then we need to identify and we need to give them the proper support. And all impaired children, like whoever is not unable to learn, they have to come forward. Their parents have to bring them to schools and they should be included and they should be in mainstream school. That is the idea of all this, the idea behind all this work.